Hey, this is Melody from Melody's Makings, and today I'm going to show you my quick and easy method for making these adorable crochet flowers like this one. You're going to start out your flower by creating a magic circle. So all you do is wrap your yarn around your fingers. This is your working yarn end. And then pull up a loop of your working yarn end. That loop right there is going to be where you place your crochet hook. Let the rest of the circle just remain nice and loose for now. Then at that point, you're going to go ahead and do 6 single crochet into the center of the circle. So go underneath all of those loops there, pull your working yarn end up, and just start the single crochet. At first it'll look a little bit sloppy, but as you get going, things start to tighten up. And put 6 single crochet stitches into the center of your magic circle. When you've got your 6 single crochet stitches complete, just pull on the end that is not your working yarn end to cinch up the center of your circle. And then at this point, you're ready to go ahead and slip into the very first stitch that you worked. So we're just going to slip stitch there with our working yarn end. And you're ready to move on to the next step. For the next step, we're going to be working in the front loop only for this whole round. And as you can see, each stitch has a little bit of a V there. So the loop that's closest to you, the leg of the V that's closest to you, would be the front loop. So in this case, you can see this loop here is the back loop, and then this loop here is the front loop. So when working through the front loop only, you only insert through that front loop. And we're going to start over here with this stitch that we just slip stitched into, and we're going to work just through the front loop of that first stitch. And we're going to start off with a double crochet through that front loop. Next, we do a chain 2 and another double crochet through that same front loop. And we're going to finish out that loop with a slip stitch. Then from here on out, we're going to repeat the same sequence on all 5 of the other front loops around our circle. So the sequence is to go ahead and slip stitch, and then double crochet in the same front loop, chain 2, and double crochet in the same front loop, and slip stitch in that loop as well. So repeat that process in the next as well. Slip stitch, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, slip stitch. So you can see I've now got 3 petals, and I'm going to go ahead and finish repeating that sequence in each of these last 3 front loops. When you've repeated that sequence in all of the front loops, your project should look something like this. And now we're ready to go ahead and slip stitch for the end of our round. So what you're going to do is you're going to turn your project over so the back side is facing you, and you're going to find the back loop of the very first front loop that you worked. So it's a little bit hard to see because it's all kind of askew, but these little loops back here, back behind each of the petals, so there's a loop right there, are our back loops. And I'm just going to go ahead and slip stitch into that very first back loop so that I can be prepared to start my next round. The next round should be quick and easy. We are just going to go ahead and chain 2 and then double crochet twice, so 2 double crochet into each of those back loops all the way around our project. So you should have 12 stitches, not including the starting chain, at the end of this round 2. So just make sure you find the back loop behind each of your petals. You can come back here and kind of pull. It's that loop immediately behind that hole. So that's my loop there. And just do 2 double crochet into each of those all the way around, so you have a total of 12 stitches. When you get all 12 of those stitches done, your project will look something like this from the front, and from the back, it'll be looking like this. And you're ready to go ahead and slip stitch into your first stitch. Now, if you're using the same color for your second layer of flower, then you can go ahead and just do the slip stitch as you are. But if you're grabbing a second color, insert that hook through that very first stitch, and then for your slip stitch, pull up a loop of your new color yarn so that you've got the color change ready to go. Next, we're going to be working that second layer of flower petals, and we're working through the front loop only again for this third round. So this round calls to start out in this very first stitch that we already slipped into through the front loop only with 4 double crochet stitches. And then you're going to finish out that loop with a slip stitch. Next, we're going to slip stitch into the front loop only of the next stitch, and we're not going to do anything else. So we've got this one where we did the 4 DC and the slip, and then we're just slipping into the next one. The next one, we're going to do a slip stitch, and we're going to do the full sequence. So the sequence for these flower petals in the back is to do our slip stitch to start, 4 DC, and then our slip stitch to end it as well. And then in between petals, we're always just going to do a slip stitch into the front loop of the stitch in between the petals. That way we'll keep it with 6 petals even though we have 12 stitches. So complete that sequence into the front loops, every other front loop, all the way around. When you've made it to the end of that round, you're ready to go ahead and do your last slip stitch. So once again, you can do that into the back loop to keep things nice and tidy. And then you can cut your yarn and fasten off. And you'll have a beautiful flower like this one's.